Hello, gathered friends. I'm Horror Nuva, and welcome to BioNICLE Deep Dive, where we analyze the tropes, characters, and lore of LEGO BioNICLE. One consistent recurring theme in BioNICLE is beings who were originally thought of as perfect, powerful, and almost godlike are revealed to actually be very flawed and human-like. A lot of BioNICLE's atmosphere and aesthetic comes from being a very myth-like story, with a world filled with legendary beings of great power. But throughout the story, as we explore the inner lives of these mythic characters, we come to realize that they're just people, with all the anxiety and mistakes that come with being mortal. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at this theme and how it's played with throughout the series. Let's dive right into it. We first see this theme at the very beginning with the Toa Mata. It's very clear from material written from the Matoran's perspective that the Toa, especially before they even arrived, were revered as demigod heroes and practically worshipped as the spirits of the elements they embodied. They built statues of them, told stories of their might, even invoked their names for protection. But then we get material from the Toa's perspective and realize that, although definitely powerful and heroic, these are deeply fallible people, just as human and vulnerable as the Matoran they were here to protect. They make mistakes, they bicker, and they lose fights. And the Toa know they're fallible, and the pressure and anxiety of living up to the heroic expectations placed upon them weighs heavily. And so we see that their true heroism comes not from their power or perfection, but from their willingness to keep on trying to do what's right, even though they might fail. An even bigger example of this trope is when Mata Nui, the great spirit of the universe himself, was revealed to be just a guy. Well, a several million foot tall galaxy exploring robot, but with all the personality and capacity for fault of just a guy. Originally introduced as an all-wise, powerful, and benevolent god, it is revealed that Mata Nui is just as fallible as anyone. The rise of Makuta and his own fall into endless sleep can be largely attributed to his lack of attention to the universe within his body, and he admits this. He wasn't paying attention and made mistakes and took his people for granted, which cost him dearly. And when he is incarnated as a Toa on Barra Magna, we see even more of his humanity. He doesn't know much about the world he's on, he needs to learn how to fight, and is scared for the first time in his life. He grows even more as a person and connected to the Glatorian and Agori, and by the end of the story is almost unrecognizable from the distant, all-powerful deity we were introduced to. Even the great beings are revealed to be fallible scientists, just trying to do their best. The Matoran revered them as mysterious and powerful creator gods who created them, the Great Spirit, and the whole universe. So distant they no longer were involved in the day-to-day runnings of the universe. As a matter of fact, they were just the scientists of Spherus Magna, who, through an accident involving a dream demon, were gifted with incredible superhuman creativity. While those around them revered them and their great technological wonders, they were really just people. They even grew to resent the title of great beings. They didn't want to be god kings, they just wanted to build and do science. So they tried to shift their responsibility onto their other creations, the Element Lords. But that setup was irresponsible and short-sighted. Turns out giving absolute political power to a group of unchecked superhumans doesn't really work out well. And it ended up costing them their world when the Element Lords went to war with each other. They created Mata Nui as a means to fix their mistakes. But even then, nearly everything they created went wrong in ways they could never have predicted. And it ultimately came down to the creations they only intended to be mindless drones, learning to be true heroes, and fighting with all they had to find a way to save the world. Now, how Makuta fits into this is very interesting. When we're first introduced to Makuta, he's like Mata Nui in scope. He's a malevolent entity, the spirit of destruction, almost more of a force of nature than an actual character. For much of the first arc, we never actually see him. Just know that he's behind all of the attacks and disasters that follow the villagers. And as the series progresses, we do actually see that he is a person, one who is finite and capable of making errors. But we also see that he's still absurdly powerful and intelligent, and that his true form is somewhat eldritch and transcendent, being made of energy contained in armor. But above all, he maintains his mystique mainly because he believes his own hype. Unlike nearly every other being who is mythologized, Makuta truly sees himself as an infallible god, even praying to himself at one point. Perhaps that is what makes him a villain in such contrast with the heroes. He refuses to believe that he is fallible, and so sees himself and his ambitions as above all the other people. One interesting way this theme of godlike beings revealed to be fallible manifests in the story is that so many of the plot lines can be seen as the lesser beings in the cosmological hierarchy having to fix the mistakes of the beings they once thought of as higher. And many times the mistakes of those higher beings were in fact their own flawed attempt at fixing the mistakes of beings even higher than them. Several times the Matoran, the regular villagers, have had to save the Toa heroes, who themselves are trying to save the Great Spirit and fix his mistake of ignoring the universe inside him. And Matanui was in turn trying to fix the mistakes of the great beings that ended up destroying Spheres Magna. It creates a world not ruled by powerful, transcendent deities, but a universe that, on all levels, is decided by people. People who make choices and mistakes, and are simply trying to do their best, which is kind of beautiful to me. On the other hand, it also speaks to another theme in Bionicle, which is the mythologization of things that are revealed to be normal. That the Matoran looked at the banal universe around them, just filled with regular people, and were able to develop profound ideas about it. After all, they were never even meant to be sentient. They were just robots who forgot they were robots. And yet they created their own stories about who they are and where they come from. And although those origins may have never been truly divine from an outside human's perspective, they were divine to the Matoran. And to me, that really speaks to seeing the profound from others' points of views. But that's my thought on the themes of fallible gods in the Bionicle story. What do you guys think of this theme, and how it's played with in the story? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, my gathered friends.